Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Legacies, episode 303, titled Salvatore, the musical, which premiered Thursday, February 4th, 2021 on the CW. Huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. I'm recording roughly a half hour after the episode has aired, so it's still fresh in my mind, got my notes down. So let's see where this goes. But quick YouTube shout outs to Rodrigo Rodriguez. Thank you so much for your comments. If I haven't replied now, I will shortly after this video is posted. So be on the lookout. I truly appreciate you always coming back to leave your thoughts. And I know you're still hoping for the Jack to make appearance, and I'm with you for that. So there's that. And also a quick shout out to Maria Lira on her suggestion on a potential video for Legacies for tier ranking specifically, and they proposed that maybe I rank the character arcs of Legacies, and I'm intrigued. But now I really got to go back and remember all the different character arcs we've had, since it has been a long time due to the pandemic since I've had Legacies content. So yeah, we'll talk about that later, but thank you, Maria. So let's get right into this. I'm going to put a 20-minute clock. Seemed to work kind of last time. But let's go into what happened in this episode. So actually, this episode was meant to be originally episode 19 of season 2 before pandemic delayed everything. So there's that. Episode quote of Salvatore the musical, which is the actual name of the play, was said by Hope to Landon when she sees the flyer for the musical for the first time and questions him on it. Timeline. Okay, here's the question I had, because I know it's shortly after the events of 302, because Hope and Landon are still quote-unquote broken up. They're definitely in that weird limbo phase of like, are we, aren't we kind of a thing, like kind of what Ross and Rachel had on Friends, of like, we're on a break, but are we? Josie is back from her time with Caroline, which she, so she missed episode 302, but they never stated how long Josie was meant to be away for. So that has me a little confused, because 302 takes place after the events of 301, and I'm really hoping 303 doesn't take place after the events of 302. I'm hoping some time has passed between the two episodes, in order to make sense that Josie is back already. Plus, also, a lot of time must have happened in between, like within the episode itself, because Landon needed time to write and rehearse that musical. And for everyone, there's no way the creature had enough reality bending ability to get everybody prepped in time for that. You know what I mean? So the episode must have spanned a good couple of days. And then the musical itself is meant to represent this spring musical that the school needed for accreditation. So putting it maybe April, which would line up with the fact that the twins merger episode was supposed to happen in March, which was a few episodes before this, but yet it still doesn't match with the rest of the timeline of season 2, right? I really gotta go double check that. See, this is why I need dates in TV shows, or like confirmed mile markers, so I know how long it's meant to be between each episode. And it's why sometimes when shows do like, it's the next day, it's the next day, it's the next day, it's the next day for episodes, I'm like, no, that's just like, I need a calendar then at that point. So there's that. Episode reminder though, it's the musical. It's the second singing focused episode of the series. First one being in season 1 with the talent show. But also the thing is though, it's not just any musical. It's a musical about the history of the founding of the Salvatore School. It kind of reminded me though of the musical in Supernatural during its 200th episode, which aired in 2014. Literally because Supernatural managed to get itself written into a book series where there was a fandom and everything, and then fans created a musical on the book series, which was based on the shows, like based on Sam and Dean's actual life. So in a way, it was meta within meta. It was meta within its own show, which is kind of the same thing with Legacies today, because it's like we're meta in the sense that we're recalling everything that happened in the first show in the universe, with its second spin-off commenting on it as history. So that was interesting. I never thought I'd see that, but I like to feel like Supernatural kind of set the the possibility lit 5 years ago. Oh, now it's 7 years ago. Shit. Okay, but that's just me. You know me, supernatural first. But anyways, featured creature of the episode is actually Puck, which is posing as the new counselor, Robin Goodfellow, though he's letting everybody believe that he's always been the counselor there. First off, the name Robin Goodfellow just had me thrown because they just used that character name on The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina in part 3 and 4. So when I heard Goodfellow, I was like, whoa. And then to hear that it's Robin, it's like, no. Is that name actually associated with Puck and like the sprites and stuff? I mean, could you not do like maybe a different name? I don't know. But that's just something there. And his goal, he does 2 things whenever he arrives. He breaks people apart, only to bring them back together again. So very dangerous in the first part, but kind of nice in the second part, which I wasn't expecting. So there's that. So the episode breakdown, really 2 parts. First one being showtime for the musical. Second one being the monster mystery. The first storyline really is Landon being tasked with writing the spring musical. Now that he's a human, he's got to think about his future. So Puck gives Landon this task. And he does it with the history of the Salvatore school. And he struggles with how much of that history to put into it, what the message of the musical is meant to be, while also trying to get on Hope's side, because she keeps telling him, leave my family out of this musical, even though they played such a huge part in the creation of the school. Because first off, Michael's family were the original vampires. They were there when Mystic Falls was established, or like they were the first settlers in Mystic Falls before it was named Mystic Falls. And also Klaus donated a lot of money to the school to allow it to even run to begin with. So at one point they had a huge connection to the school. So it's like, I mean, it's just a lot. So it was interesting how it was all brought together. And we had Caleb being Damon, Jed being Stefan, Josie being Elena, though Hope takes the place at the very end after some dire circumstances. Not dire, unexpected circumstances. And then Lizzie takes the role of Caroline. Yeah, and then Landon being the director of the whole thing. MG's the only one not part of the musical. I wonder what role he would have played if he was actually cast. But he was tasked on monster duty, which was the second storyline. And that is Alyssa warning MG first about the next monster coming to target the school to distract them on Necromancer's orders. So he tries to figure out who this monster is, only for the counselor to tell him. And then the moment MG leaves or tries to tell someone else, he can't remember. And the cycle keeps going every time he remembers that there is a monster on the premises, but he's trying to figure out who. And then once he does, the counselor plays around a little bit, and then the moment MG leaves, he can't remember, or he can't pinpoint what the actual answer is, and that is Puck. So he finds himself in quite a little loop there. But by the end of it, the monster walks away scot-free, and MG gets a better understanding on how redemption and like second chances for all monsters, and that leads him to the final scene of the episode, which is the necromancer killing another body. I'm assuming it's a supernatural creature needed for their spell, and the last they need is a vampire to complete their spell. And then MG rushes in with a sword and wants to take Alyssa away from the necromancer, but she betrays him and knocks him out, claiming that MG is now the vampire they need for their spell to wake up Malivore. Like, on the one hand, I'm surprised and then not surprised at this point. Like, I'm surprised MG would go in there guns blazing by himself, but then I'm not surprised that she betrayed him. Because I also kind of hoped maybe, like, she was being sincere when she first approached him in her astral projected form, saying, she's finding it hard not to care for him, but then she betrays him. So I'm like, what the hell, you lying troublemaker. So there's that. Characters. Do have a little bit to go through for characters. So Josie finds it hard to relate to Elena, but she ends up doing so by the end of the musical, relating over the fact that she is changing in a town that doesn't change, which is what Elena experienced at the beginning of right before she it's what Elena starts to experience the moment after her parents die. She changes from that in a town that doesn't. So that was interesting, the way that she worded it, because originally she called Elena selfish, which I thought was hilarious. So there's that. We have Lizzie struggling to connect to not only teenage Caroline, but to connect to the perfect image of her mom. But by the end of it, she seems to have a better understanding. With Hope, we actually see her painting, which I really liked because, as you know, she's an artist. We haven't seen it actually happening on screen. So I'm glad we got to see that again. But we also see her having a bit of anger issues due to not only dealing with the breakup with Landon, but which we see acting up in gym class when she throws a dodgeball really hard at Jed and he goes flying, which I kind of hope we see more of that. Not of Jed getting hurt, but more of like her physical power coming into play. But then we also see her magic go awry when she overhears some students kind of gossiping over the fact that Klaus Michelson is this great evil and how they weren't surprised because of how Hope is. And she got very mad and angry about that, and her magic kind of fritzed out. So she's been dealing with some issues for that, all revolving around her breakup and her father. Then we have Alark. He actually, by the end of the episode for him, he takes a chance with the Sheriff Mac, gives her flowers, saying that even though falling in love terrifies him, he's decided not to hide away from that part anymore. Since he always believed that he can never find love and keep it because he's lost so many people to death that he's falling in love with. I mean, you got Isabel, you got Jenna, you got Joe. I mean, the only one who left was Meredith Fell, but she's alive as far as I know. So yeah, there's that for Alark. So he seems to be taking a chance with Sheriff Mac. She seems to accept it, and he gets invited into her house. We do see Jade again. Remember, a vampire who got stuck in the prison room for 10 years, used to babysit Josie. Has a little thing for her. Josie has a thing for her too. That sounded weird when I only did it the one side. Jade actually, when helping with Josie's injury from Puck, Jade reveals that she plans to leave the school to explore the world because she doesn't want to be stuck at the school in the past of who she once was. And then also with MG, he seems to be the only one that cares to find Alyssa and bring her back. Caleb kind of made it dismissive, but I don't know if that's because he was maybe because Puck made him care for the musical, or if it was just because he was just like, Alyssa left, doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to be found, just let her go kind of a thing. So there's that. Some tidbits though. We find out that Landon and Jed both prefer Stefan over Damon, though the rest of the school auditions were for Damon, since Jed was the only one who auditioned for Stefan. Again, found that funny. But then I can't blame them either, because stereotypically Damon's the villain between the two brothers. But, like, villains are more fun to play. But then, like, depending on how much Landon kept of the Vampire Diary history into the play, I'm not sure if he went, like, the bad Stefan, like, the evil Stefan, good Damon route, like those flips or not. But I don't blame people for wanting to play Damon. Being something that they're not, or they would never want to be, kind of a thing. So there's that. Because I know when I'm reading character lines for people, playing the bad guy is always fun. Just because, like, you get to say stuff and do stuff you would never want to do in real life. So it's just like, that's entertaining. To an extent. Then there's also some things that are just uncomfortable to read no matter what. No matter if it's fake or if it's real, it's just uncomfortable to read. So, anyways, I digress. We also find out that physical letters can actually be delivered through the fire, kind of like their own little mailing service, which I thought was pretty cool, which I will talk about later. And then we see Hope and Landon get back together, or I think they got back together, but they definitely apologize for the misunderstanding between them that led to the breakup. I think they got back together. I mean, they were on the wharf or the deck or whatever. And they had that moment, I think. I mean, it's the same thing where I didn't know if they broke up or not by the end of the previous episode, and now I don't know if they are back together or not in this. They're definitely on better terms with each other, that's for sure. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. Okay, by the time I edit this, hopefully the information is more accurate up on the wiki pages, because it's still fresh and the West Coast hasn't seen the episode yet when I'm recording this. But most shocking moment, we actually got Caroline's voice when the letter to Lizzie was being read. I kept on straining my ears saying, is that Caroline's voice? That's not Lizzie's voice. And it was just like, and then I was so happy that even though we didn't get a full-on Caroline appearance. We got a cameo kind of in the sense, and I really do love it when, for something like letters like that, I do prefer it being in the voice of the person who wrote it, just to have that little extra connective feel to it. So that was a shock. I wasn't expecting to get Caroline's voice. But then also another shock was just seeing Jade again. We haven't seen her since episode 214, which shouldn't seem like long. It's only 5 episodes if you think of this as like the original 219. But I just wasn't expecting her to see her at all, since we hadn't seen her at the second half in the 215 or 16, and then in 301 or 2. So that was a surprise, a happy surprise, but we will talk about that now with top 3 favorite moments. Automatically, the musical is going to be great and one of my faves, just because it's a trip down memory lane. Everyone who sang did it wonderfully. The fact that they had to learn their parts as the characters and then to learn a musical on top of that's like amazing to me. It's also the fact that they wrote a musical about the history of the school amuses me, because there are now technically history books in that school that dictate the history we learned on the Vampire Diaries. So it's like, I'm not going to read a book. I'm just going to go watch the series kind of a thing. And you know how some people, it's like the movie's based on the book? It's kind of like that. It's like, this book is based on season 3 of the Vampire Diaries. So I find that highly amusing for me. But the songs were pretty catchy, pretty cool in articulating the mood and the mindset. It was definitely a trip down memory lane to feel what the Salvatore brothers, Elena and Caroline, were dealing with at that time. Also, there's a part in the play where Jed, as Stefan said, I was trying to be more like you, brother, to Caleb or Damon in this. And it was just that moment with him like saying, like, I'm about to die. That hit me hard, because I'm like, instead of them in the musical version, I was like, oh, I'm thinking of the original version when it was actually Stefan and Damon, and it's just like, oh, that was a hard moment. It was just like, oh, I think that was before Damon, quote unquote, compelled Stefan to leave, and then, oh, damn, that was a hard time. Anyways, the music also brought in a lot of character analysis between Lizzie and Caroline, Josie and Elena. We kind of get a bit from Jed and Stefan, but more of like on the surface of like thinking that he was the glue to everything, I think is what he said. Ouch. So there's that. And then a thing that tied to the musical that I liked was also Caroline's voiceover in the letter to Lizzie. I thought that was really great. I thought it brought a lot more clarity to her about that time in Caroline's life, because I too, like Lizzie, thought that Caroline turning into a vampire was the moment that really changed her. I mean, it's definitely the moment I take away as being the turning point for Caroline's character, from being one way to becoming a better person. But to have that letter definitely shed a lot more of a different light on the change we got to see in Caroline. So I do appreciate that. It's another way to add another layer to the character I thought I knew. So there's that. Another favorite I did have was the kiss we got between Josie and Jade. Not just the kiss, but the fact that we got a scene with them. Because I really love the chemistry. If we get over the age discrepancy, if we get over that, it's funny that they brought it up though. But if we get over that, I really like that they acknowledged the fact that they didn't want to leave things left hanging in case Jade did actually leave. They didn't want any what ifs between them. And she asked if they could kiss, and then like they were leading in as they were talking. It's just like they wanted to kiss when there wasn't any dark magic between them that were influencing it. And it was just like, yes. But now I'm also sad, because that means I'm not going to get an actual Josie-Jade relationship, because Jade's leaving. But I liked Jade now. So it's like, well, I mean, I like emotional Jade, not no humanity Jade. So it's like, ugh, I wanted Jade and Josie. At least I got a kiss before they left, but man, now I'm disappointed that that's all we're going to get. So there's that. Another funny thing or favorite thing is the time loop that MG found himself in with Puck. I mean, technically it's not a time loop, but the way that they edited it made it look like MG was going through all these different scenarios of trying to find the identity of the monster, revealing it, only to be sucked into another I don't remember moment, and then repeating itself over and over again. And it was just an amusing thing to see him go through, but then it also was weird too, in a way that we knew it was him. like straight away that he told us, and then we got stuck with only MG knowing about it. And why? I guess that's my question too. Why was MG only allowed to remember? Like, I get Alyssa warning him about it, but that means Puck would have had to have known that MG was the target. That MG, like, even though it didn't look like the Puck didn't do any destruction because he helped make this musical come to life and everything, and he helped Landon and Hope get back together. But by the end of it, he focused on MG. He isolated MG, and he had him say that maybe everybody was redeemable, so that MG would go to Alyssa instead of trying to find, like, putting in the seed that the necromancer and Alyssa, and then MG ended up stepping right into the trap that she had set because she betrayed him and had him ready for the necromancer. So it's like, hoish, that's harsh. But the fact, all the different crazy antics we saw MG get into to try to remember what he kept on forgetting about Puck, I thought that was pretty entertaining to see. It kind of had me wonder why he couldn't do certain things, but I guess Puck already knew who he had to target, and he had to make sure that every time he got closer, he just went further away. So I kind of get that. Moving on to top 3 peeve moments. This is the one thing I was actually hoping to see in the episode, and we didn't get it. And that was seeing Alaric witnessing the musical. I mean, Alaric alone was just in 2 scenes in the whole episode. But, like, when they revealed that there was going to be a musical about the founding of the Salvatore School, there's a timer, I was like, out of any character in, like, to see all these TVD characters or Vampire Diaries characters come to life on the stage, I cannot wait to see Alaric's face, him in the audience saying, like these are all these people he knew who had a huge impact on his life. So I was like waiting for that reaction, kind of like similar in like the Supernatural musical episode where we got to see Sam and Dean watching the play version of their lives. I kind of want to see that with Alaric, but I didn't get that. So that's like a huge P for me. That was like the one character I could, from the Vampire Diaries, that I was sure would be able to react to the musical in the show itself. And I didn't even get that. So I'm like pretty bummed about that. Also, another peeve that I have was the fact that Alyssa tricked MG. I mean, I think I mentioned it before where I kind of wish that she was actually being sincere with him, saying that she's finding it hard for her not to care for him, like she still has lingering feelings for him, and that's why she's warning him. I kind of wish that was actually genuine, but it turned, and then when he goes to save her, and she's just looking like torn up and like looking like she wanted to go, and MG's thinking this, and then she betrays, and I'm like, no, MG's ultimately a really good guy, and you just took advantage of that. And now you're going to sacrifice him from raising Malivore because of a bunch of kids were being mean to you at school? It's like, damn. It's like, MG deserves better. She didn't deserve you to save her, MG did not. Okay, moving on to random questions. Here's one that I thought of after I did the video for 302. Or maybe it's just an observation, I don't know. But I just realized that I just realized that when Raph got sent to the prison world with his parents, I kept thinking that they better not be reliving a day that has a full moon. Like, I hope that Alaric learned from, or I hope they all learned from the previous mistake they did by sending Diego to the prison world on a repeating night of the full moon. Because if Raphael gets to live out forever in the prison world, to live the same type of day over and over again, and he can do whatever he wants with his parents, and it's not a full moon, that means he doesn't have to turn into a werewolf anymore. That means his mom doesn't have to turn into a werewolf. They can actually live normal lives when literally they have the prison world at their feet, if that makes sense. So that was something I just realized after a couple hours ago, before this episode even aired. It's just like, oh, interesting. It's like, so now I'm kind of hoping that they remember not to put him on the night of the full moon. So that's something there. But an actual question to this episode is, if Alaric knew that the necromancer is holed up in the mausoleum in 302 because he actually Is it 3 or 2? Yeah, because he actually confronts the necromancer about Raphael's dying state. Why have they not done any protective measures around the mausoleum? I mean, how did Alark even find that location to begin with? Like, how do you know that's where the necromancer was holding up? Because I can't remember the deal that Alark made with the necromancer, but I can understand why they can't do anything against him. But why did they not do anything about the Malivore pit? Why did they not make it so that the necromancer can't gain access to it? Or why couldn't they not seal it up? I mean, they might not be able to, if their deal meant that they couldn't actually attack the necromancer or get rid of the dark magic they gave him in any specific way. I don't get why they couldn't do any magical protections on the mausoleum so that the necromancer couldn't get near the Malivore pit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, if you know where he is, it's also like, a part of me was questioning, like, why was the necromancer still there if they knew about his hideout? But then I remember the pit's in there, and you can't really pick up the pit and go to a new location, you know? So, there's that. Another random question. I don't really have one for the episode, but I did want to bring up Maria Lira's video idea about doing a tier ranking for the character arcs of Legacy. So I'm opening it up to you now, guys. What character arcs from Legacy Season 1 and 2 would you like me to tier rank? And we will... And then I'll also do my research to kind of make a list of which character arcs actually happened in the 2 seasons, but I'm wondering if any of you have any specific ones that you wanted me to touch on, or maybe there's some that I just completely miss. Please let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you have an answer for any questions I posed in this video, comment down below. Really appreciate hearing your thoughts about that. But let's move into predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 304, which was originally meant to be the season 2 finale, which I kind of got that feel in the promo, if I'm honest, because we see the necromancer actually resurrecting Malivore and coming face to face with Landon, and I think one of the classrooms in the Mystic Falls High. It'd be funny if it was the old history teacher, or if it was the whole history classroom that Alark used to teach in. That'd be funny. But then we also see a bunch of monsters rising from Malivore and trying to attack, and the Salvatore students rallying together and trying to keep all these monsters under wraps from the human civilians of the town. So that's pretty something there. Now, synopsis for the episode reads, first, welcome to Team Monster, which has me having thoughts. So there's that. So Super Squad bands together after the Necromancer's next plan unleashes more than anyone bargained for. Meanwhile, a run-in with Ethan reminds Josie why she doesn't trust herself with magic. Hope, Alark, Landon, Lizzie, MG, Caleb, and Jed also appear. So, like I said, Ethan appears. Ethan is supposed to be a series regular in Season 3. So, in order for him to do that, he has to be a student at the Salvatore School, because we are never going to travel to Mystic Falls High again like we did in the first portion of Season 2, because that's where Alark taught. That's where Hope was temporarily going when nobody remembered her. And the only way we would ever see Ethan again is through Sheriff Mack. But every time we see her, it's always with her and Alark and not her kids. So the only other logical reason why we would see Ethan is if he went to the Salvatore School. So the Welcome to Team Monster thing has me thinking that Ethan is going to either A, become a vampire, maybe in the battle somehow, or B, like I keep saying, is he's an untriggered werewolf. And maybe he ends up being pulled into this fight and he accidentally kills somebody or something and he triggers it. And then that makes him become a member of the Salvatore School. And then that's why he will be a series regular. And then I want to see that connection with him and Hope that we got in the earlier parts of Season 2 before everybody else remembered her. That's my hope for Ethan. I want to be a werewolf. I don't want to be a vampire. I want to be a werewolf so that's another aspect that we can see him connect with Hope with. And just see another element for Hope, because we don't get much of her being a werewolf. It's always the witch first and then the werewolf. But then at the same time, it's like if he becomes a vampire, then a lot of people, including myself, do want to see Hope become a vampire too in the future, just because that is part of her nature. But we'll have to see where that goes. But if he's a werewolf, that means later on he can be turned into a hybrid with Hope's blood. Remember? And since they got rid of Raphael, I need a soul werewolf in this group, not just Jed. Jed can't be the only werewolf in this super squad, you know? So there's that. So otherwise, what else do I have to say? Well, yesterday, or February 3rd, CW revealed that they renewed Legacies for Season 4, so hip hip hooray. We get more of this shenanigans of the Salvatore school, so I'm excited for that. I'm also actually surprised that they already announced it now, when they're only 3 weeks into all their shows returning. So that was kind of a surprise for me, because usually we'd find out the news now if all the shows have been airing since October. So I don't know. So it was a huge surprise to me when I found out the news on Instagram yesterday. But I'm super excited that we do get Season 4. Otherwise, that's all I'm going to say. So that's about it. But what did you guys think of the musical or the other elements of the episode? What did you like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I read blog, promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. I am behind. I'm warning you right now. Things are really picking up in my screenwriting course right now. I'm in the final term of my program, so a lot of things are really heating on those deadlines. So there's that. I'm hoping to... Well, the plan was to hopefully catch up on a Tumblr reblog upload day, which usually takes me a day because I do it all at once. Hoping to do a day of it during my reading week, but it looks like I got a bunch of other projects planned for reading week that I need to schedule out. So we'll see how it goes, but otherwise just check out the link or follow me if you want to keep track of when I post things. That's one way too. WordPress, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress. But everything is connected there, so you can go check that out as well. Otherwise, guys, that's about it. I'll leave it there. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back next week to see what they say about 304 or the original Season 2 finale. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you a great day, great week wherever you are. Stay safe during this pandemic, and please wear a mask. So bye for now.